the revelations from the Pentagon that there are objects zipping through our atmosphere of which they have no idea where they come from, how they operate, uh, has sent debunkers running. They're scrambling right now. UFO debunkers, their world has shattered because for years, they could always rely on the government to back up their phony claims that there's nothing going on, that what people are seeing in the sky is just nothing, birds, uh, some visual illusion, created by the sun with sun rays or nonsense, swamp gas, whatnot, crazy stuff. So, you know, years and years, decades. This has been going on since the late 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and now over the last couple of years, right? The government's starting to turn this situation around. Now they're saying, yeah, we're seeing stuff out there. We can't explain it. It 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 moves in ways that our best flying machines cannot. Our best jets cannot do this, what these things are doing. We don't have objects that could fly around, at incredible speeds that like these things exhibit. And we don't have things that could dip into the ocean and then fly back out. We don't have these things. So now debunkers, UFO debunkers, they're scrambling. Their world is shattering. It's shattering right before their eyes. But I want to throw this out there to you. If you're a UFO debunker, you're a skeptic, or just a debunker, someone who just this is their grift. I mean, they make a living just coming up with bogus explanations for alien abductions, cattle mutilations, flying saucers zipping through the sky. Like if you're one of these people that make a living, coming up with bogus explanations just to, make money or whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you're one of those people, you're still needed. You're still needed. So I know it feels right now like your world is shattering, but I'm going to tell you something. There are people out there who still are going to need you. There's people out there who rely on you. They need your lies. They need your bogus explanations. They're going to need them. Let me explain. Now, let's first get into this, though, what has happened here. Now, for years, the government officials, top government officials would come out and make statements that would, uh, go along with what debunkers always say, that there's nothing to this. There's nothing going on. There's always some sort of rational explanation, something that's, non-benign, So, like, for instance, like in 1994, the Air Force released its report on Roswell, where they tried to say that the weather balloon story was a lie in 1947. It was actually a weather balloon, though, but it was a top secret weather balloon designed to spy on the Russians to try to, figure out when they're testing their atomic bombs. That's what it was. And for some reason, they had to, cover this up. Despite the fact that there were dozens of first and second-hand witnesses who claimed to see materials that do not, sound like weather balloon. Doesn't sound like, the wood and flimsy materials that this top secret weather balloon, even though witnesses were talking about a craft that was crashed and pieces of metal that, did things that metal that we know of can't do, like you crumble it up and then it straightens right back out again, like, like mercury. So that, the debunkers had the benefit always of the top government officials always coming out and making these, statements that there's nothing to it. This was just a weather balloon. 1994, that's what they said in their big Roswell report from the United States Air Force. And then in 1997, the UFO debunkers had a big laugh when the Air Force again came out with the Roswell report, case closed, where they tried to claim that the 4-foot tall, diminutive alien beings with the big oversized pair heads and the large almond-shaped eyes and only 4 digits on each hand. They tried to say that what people were really seeing in 1947 were anthropomorphic dummies that were dropped from high altitudes by the Air Force in test drops, dummy drops in 1953. You know, so basically these people mistook, even though one of these things was alive, in some of these stories, in some of these claims from the people from 1947, some of these witnesses said that, there were 4 alien bodies, 3 of them were dead, and one of them was walking around. One of them was alive. But the Air Force said, no, that's not what those people saw. It wasn't 1947. It was actually 1953. There was nothing alive. They were dummies that we dropped from parachutes from high altitudes as part of some tests that we were doing. 6-foot tall dummies that look like mannequins, basically. So people mistook mannequins in 1953 for aliens that they saw in 1947. Okay, let me say something. The debunkers, boy, they had a field day. I mean, this whole story the story was designed to make these witnesses in Roswell look foolish. But hey, in a way, I understand. I don't think that story. I think that story needs to stay secret still. I don't think people of the world are ready for the truth about Roswell. There are just too many people out there that just couldn't handle it. So, but now we're in a situation where the government, has decided that it's time. Top officials in the government has decided that it's time to slowly unveil the reality, the extraterrestrial reality. And now the debunkers, they're scrambling because now they're not used to this. They always had they're always working hand in hand. They're all good buddies, it seemed. They're all on the same team. Now, all of a sudden, the Air Force is coming out saying, yeah, you see these objects? We don't know what they are. They fly faster than anything we got. They don't look like there's no propulsion system on it. Look at these things. So now the debunkers, they're just, oh my God, this is the end of the world. Oh. Now the tables have turned. The tables are turning, and they can't handle this. I'm telling you, believe me, they're scrambling. Now they're going to try to start debunking the Pentagon, basically. They're going to say, no, we don't believe it. We don't believe it. Okay, whatever they're going to do. A lot of them will. But let me just say this. This information is going to come out. There's smart people, intelligent people, people who could handle the revelation of an extraterrestrial reality are going to start moving forward on the basis that these are extraterrestrials. I mean, if you're intelligent and you're not afraid of your own shadow, you're going to be like, yeah, okay, yep. Whatever the situation is, I think it's, we have to admit, yep, they're out there. But the debunkers are still going to be needed. The skeptics, these people like the kind of people that write for the Skeptical Inquirer, nonsense like that. There's a contingent of folks out there who are going to need to be lied to because they're not going to be able to handle it. Because if it's fully revealed, and it might be. I mean, I think my personal view is that the government should rip the Band-Aid off and just, let it loose. But that's me. That doesn't make me right. There could be very good reasons why they can't do that. And one of those reasons could be about there are people out there who just are not going to be able to deal with this. So the debunkers' jobs are still, they're still going to be able to continue with their grift because there's going to be people out there who are going to need to be lied to. There are going to be people out there who are going to be looking for other fringe sources of news on this subject. So people they're gonna want to hear no, there's no such thing as extraterrestrials. These things are they're easily explainable. It's probably birds or whatnot, something nonsense like that. I mean, so these debunkers, their jobs are still intact. They're not gonna you're needed. You're a necessary element moving forward. So, but at the same time, I think it's quite funny. Basically all these years, decades. I mean, basically these skeptics, these debunkers, these people you see them on over the years. I've seen them 20, 30 years ago showing up on CNN, ABC News, CBS News, NBC, Fox News, MSNBC, all the news outlets. Every now and then you'll see these people coming on. The news networks always felt it necessary for some reason to bring these debunkers on who would, basically furnish the world with phony information, phony explanations for uh, obvious things that are beyond our capacity, obvious machines that are in the air that are doing things that our machines cannot do. So, but that was a necessary thing because I think they're necessary. Debunkers are necessary because there are people out there who wouldn't be able to handle this. I mean, they're gonna if the band-aid does get ripped off in one fell swoop by the government, and they say, yep, extraterrestrials. The president, somebody comes out, top Pentagon officials come out with a big press conference and say, guess what, extraterrestrials. I mean, there's going to be people hiding in their closets. I mean, there's going to be people, they're not going to be showing up to work the next day. They're going to go nuts. I mean, literally nuts, because they've been fed a line by the officials over the years that there's nothing to this, and that line was being fed to them because the officials, I mean, for whatever reason, there are reasons not to disclose this information to the public. And it's going to be interesting, as this moves on. Now we have this report coming out in June. I expect we're going to be presented with more visual evidence, and we're not going to get an answer. They're going to just tell us that they don't know what it is, but we know what it is. We all know what it is. It's extraterrestrials. That's what this is all about. Okay, there's extraterrestrial presence on Earth, and it's been here for a long time. This has been going on for decades. There's been reports, there's a lot of people who've seen these things. There are people who have, been abducted by aliens. It happens. Okay. For whatever purpose, we don't know, but there are people who have been abducted by aliens and have been forced into getting, evasive examinations. A lot of times they don't remember these things while they're happening, but they'll remember them later on in their dreams, and they'll get hypnotized, and then they remember. There have been some alien abductions where the people remember everything. Okay. I could tell you, personally, I don't know if I was abducted. I know there was an alien presence in my room when I was a kid, when I was like 8 or 9 years old. I talked about this in a previous podcast episode. I've seen a UFO in 1994 on a fishing trip. I've seen a UFO. I saw it up close and personal. It was only 2.5 stories off the ground, right in front of my face. There was no way this thing was, made on Earth. I mean, if you would have saw it, you'd understand. I mean, that's the thing. There's people like me who've seen one of these things, and they understand now. I've always understood. Since then, I've known. I'm a knower. There's people in the world who are knowers. Then there's people in the world who are in the middle. I mean, you hear like a lot of people say they want to believe. I heard Joe Rogan saying, I want to believe. I'm not sure. There's people out there that there's enough evidence out there right now. I mean, even if you didn't see one of these things, it's not, I mean, you either believe or you don't. I mean, they're afraid to believe, I think. I mean, if you're saying that you want to believe, that means you're afraid to believe. So this is where the debunkers are going to come in handy, because there's going to be some of these people who say, I want to believe, right? First off, let's before we even get there, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, there are 3 different types of people. There are knowers, people who know for a fact that I'm one of those people. There are a lot of people like this who just know. Okay, I know for a fact. It's reality. We're living. There's an extraterrestrial presence on Earth. Full stop. I know that. And then there's the middle ground people these are people who aren't sure. A lot of them will say this. You hear this all the time. It's real popular for the last few years. I want to believe. I want to believe, right? And then there are people who think it's absolutely ridiculous and just insane. And they just don't believe, and they don't want to believe, right? They don't want to know about this. They don't like that. They think it's crazy. And plus they think it's crazy. So again, now getting back to where I was now, the people in the middle, the people who say they want to believe, there's going to be a percentage of those people who, as this information starts getting released. It looks like it's going to be a slow release over time. Like this, we smart people, the knowers, we're watching this. We know what's going on. The rest of the people, they're in the middle, right? Or they don't believe. But anyway, I don't. I want to believe people. There's going to be some of them. They're going to move over into the I don't believe, and they don't want to believe column, because as this stuff starts getting unveiled, it's going to scare some of these people. So again, I know if you're a debunker and you've made a living on this, whether you believe, whether you're a real skeptic or not a real skeptic, and you're making a living on debunking extraterrestrials reports, cattle mutilations, UFO sightings. If you're out there and you're making your living doing this, you're still going to be needed as we move forward. You're still going to be able to make a living. There are going to be people that need to hear lies because they're not going to be able to handle it. They're just not going to be able to handle this, and the rest of us could move forward in reality. So that's what I got to say. I mean, I know it's shattering right now. Your world has been shattered, and it's really shattered right now. Especially now, the Pentagon, who, high government officials who for years have been, seemingly playing on your team, with this, talking about telling people that the aliens, that 4 foot tall aliens that people saw in Roswell in 1947 were actually 6 foot tall dummies that they dropped from the sky in 1953. I mean, yeah. So you're needed. It's a necessary. You're a necessary cog in humanity. So don't worry. You just have to come up with better, more, insane lie. I mean, there's more insane explanations that you come up with, probably the better. I mean, the people who don't want to believe, just anything's going to work with them. Anything, just as long as you sound in someone. I know a lot of you aren't that intelligent, but you're not super intelligent. I'm not that intelligent either. I'm just some regular guy out there just speaking, reality. I mean, and you're just regular people too. But just sound somewhat and try to make yourself sound, present yourself as, intelligence, and act like a know-it-all, like you've been doing. Continue to act like a know-it-all, like for a fact. Like, just make these, assure. You have to assure the non-believers, the ones who, not only non-believers, the people who just don't want to believe. Like, just you're going to be able to come up with something. And maybe you could just, even if there's one landed right out, in front of somebody's house, a non-believer, there's, say they're in the middle of getting abducted and there's alien spacecraft right in front of their house. I mean, I'm sure you could come up with some idea that it was all a mirage, whatever mirages. Like, come up with, I'm sure you're gonna have to get more creative. That's the only thing you're probably gonna have to do. You're gonna have to get a little bit more creative. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm interested to see, like, how you guys handle this moving forward. As more things are unveiled, and the reality, and is the extraterrestrial reality is exposed a little bit more and more and more as time goes on. It's going to be interesting to see how professional UFO debunkers proceed, and I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. Because again, you're necessary. There's people out there that can't handle this, and they're going to need to hear from you, and you're going to have to come up with some whoppers. And good luck with that. Anyway, hey folks, thank you very much for listening.